Hello, my name is Keshwani. That's Keshwani, Keshwani. We are here because we want to learn algebra. Today is our lesson number 192. Day number 192. We are in the process of solving word problems from day number 101 through 200, and today is our 92nd day. Problem for today is already on the blackboard. Let's read together. Let's read it together. It says one number exceeds another by 4. So we have two numbers apparently, and one exceeds the other by 4. We are told that their sum is 20. Question simply is, what are they? That's all. Pause the video, solve it yourself, and then compare your work, okay? Here's the solution. Let the greater number be G. Usually I do not put it like this, let the greater number be G. That sounds very geeky to me, that sounds very academic to me, that sounds very formal to me, that sounds very conservative to me. Usually I write it like this. Instead of saying let the greater number be G, usually I have a habit of saying, let's pretend the greater number is G, which is the same thing. Let the greater number be G, or let's pretend that greater number is G, is the same thing. But to me this is more informal, it is not as geeky to me. That would imply, if that's the case, if you're going to pretend that the greater number is G, that would imply that the smaller number must be whatever this G is, whatever this greater number is, minus 4. Why? Because we are told that the greater number exceeds the smaller one by 4. If the greater number exceeds the smaller by 4, what it says here is that one number exceeds another by 4. Obviously the number that exceeds is the greater one. So if the greater number exceeds the smaller by 4, then the smaller must be whatever the greater number is, 4 less. Their sum, we are told, their sum is 20. Their sum equals 20. So here are two numbers, G for greater number, and the smaller number, which is G minus 4, and their sum is 20. That's it, we are done. Just solve for G and we are done. So 2G minus 4 equals 20. Add 4 to both sides. If we add 4 to both sides, this negative 4 and this positive 4, they drop out, and we end up with 2G equals 16, or rather 24. We are adding 4 here, 24, and therefore G, it seems like, is 12. The greater number is 12, and since the smaller number is 4 less than that, it's 8, which is just as well, because they have to add up to 20. So that implies that the greater number is 12. Greater number is 12, and the smaller number is 4 less than that, which is 8. That's 8. Now we are going to solve the same problem in a different method. In this method, we only have one variable in our equation, and we only have one equation. That's because even though we have two different variables, we have the large number and the small numbers, but we define everything in one variable, in terms of one variable, because we express the smaller number in terms of the greater number. We express the smaller number as G minus 4. We did not give it its own unique, distinct identity. We express the smaller number as 4 less than the greater number. That's what we're calling him. So instead of calling Michael, we're not calling Michael, we're calling Michael Billy's brother. You see? That is what it means to express one variable in terms of the other. Instead of calling Michael Michael, we're calling him Billy's brother. We're not calling him by his name. Now we're going to solve the problem again where these two variables, these two unknown, the greater number and the smaller number, will in fact have their own unique, separate, independent identity. And that method is called simultaneous equation. Let's do the same problem again with the simultaneous equation. I need a lot of room, so I need to erase the things. So we redo it with simultaneous equation method. And like I already explained, in simultaneous equation method, both of these two variables have their distinct, separate, independent, unique identity. One is not defined, one is not identified in terms of the other. So we have the large number, and we are told that it exceeds this large number, the greater number. G is the greater number. And let's define S as the smaller number. And let me move this G a little bit back so I have room to finish my equation. So we have the greater number, which we are told exceeds the other one by 4. So if you were to take away the small number, the difference between the two is 4. And that came from the first sentence. You see, we have two unknowns here, so we have to have two independent equations. And the two independent equations are going to come from the two sentences that we're given here. There are three sentences here. The third sentence is the punchline. The third sentence is where they ask you the question. Here's the first sentence. One exceeds the other by 4. That's this sentence. Now let's do the second sentence. Their sum is 20. G plus S equals 20. This marker is no good. Let's get rid of it. So their sum equals 20. Let me rewrite this thing here. Their sum equals 20. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I should stick with my black marker. Keep life simple. Their sum equals 20. That's it. These are our two equations. These are two independent equations because in both of these two equations we have some unique information, which is not repeated. For example, let me give you two equations which are not independent, and if they are not independent, we cannot solve for them. We cannot solve for the variables. For example, if I tell you that A plus B equals 5, and then we go on to say that 2 times A plus 2 times B equals 10. Well, have I told you anything new? Of course not. If A plus B equals 5, then it stands to reason that 2 times A and 2 times B better bloody well be 2 times 5. Better be 2 times 5, that is. Bloody well be 2 times 5. It's the same information being repeated. These two are not two independent equations. We cannot solve for A and B from these two equations. There isn't enough information here. You have to tell something new, something unique, something independent. So if I tell you that when you add them up we get 5, and then if I tell you that when you subtract one from the other you get 2, well, now we have something going here, you see? Now we have something going. Which means, what do you suppose these two are? If you were to add these two equations here, these will cancel out and 2A will equal 7. If 2A equals 7, then A must be 3.5. A is 3.5, then B must be 1.5. And guess what? 3.5 plus 1.5 is 5, and 3.5 minus 1.5 is 2. These are two independent equations, but before they were not. So let's add them up. We have a negative s here and we have a positive s here. They cancel out, so we end up with plus g and a plus g. That's 2g's equal 24, and g equals 12. What does g represent? G represents the greater number, g for greater, and we've just found out that it's 12. Guess what? That's exactly what we had before. Now how do we find the small number? By using one of these equations. This is our equation 1. I'm going to erase this part here, we don't need it. Let's call this equation 1. And this is our equation 2. So equation 1 implies, if you were to use equation 1 to solve for the small number, which is this here, bring the s to the other side, bring 4 to the here. So s equals g minus 4 from equation 1, right here, this equation. S equals g minus 4, which is 12 minus 4, which is 8, which is exactly what we found here. Or we could have used equation 2. Equation 2 implies that s, bring the s to the other side, bring 20 here, s equals g minus 20. S equals g minus 20. G is 12. 12 minus 20, and we got a problem here. We're getting negative 8. That should not happen. S equals, so sorry, S would equal, bring g to the other side, S equals 20 minus g. S equals 20 minus g. 20 minus 12, which is 8, which is exactly what we found here. So as you can see, both of these methods give us the same answer. Tomorrow, when we solve another problem on day number 193, I would like you to compare the work that we did today on day number 192 with the work that we're going to do on day 193. I want you to compare these two videos. I want you to compare these two problems and understand the difference between the two, how we set it up and what it means. But as far as today is concerned, we are done. I will see you tomorrow on day number 193. Alright? Thanks.